All right, let's dive right into this explainer and figure out how to construct sentences like a master architect. Because let's be real for a second. Poor sentence construction is absolutely the quickest way to lose a reader's attention. That goes for whether you're firing off a quick text message or drafting a super important corporate email. Whenever we write or speak, words are our bricks. But really, what good is a pile of bricks without that vital mortar holding the whole thing together? That mortar is our logical connections, our conjunctions. So today, we're going to explore exactly how to use these tools to build strong, sophisticated, and structurally sound ideas. But before we start building, we've got to know what our materials actually are. Conjunctions are literally the glue that stops our writing from sounding choppy and disjointed. Just imagine someone talking like this. I like tea. I like coffee. It was raining. We went outside. It's incredibly robotic, right? Well, conjunctions fix that. They allow us to smoothly say, I like tea and coffee, or although it was raining, we went outside. They are the essential mechanisms that bring fluency, logic, and coherence to our language. So here's our blueprint for today. We've got 5 phases, taking us from the basic foundational rules all the way up to advanced B2, application, error correction, and some finishing touches. Let's get to work. Section 1, the foundation. Let's start with our ground floor, the most basic but absolutely essential structural connections in the English language. Okay, so these are your coordinating conjunctions. You probably know them by the classic acronym FANBOYS. Think of these like perfectly balanced beams connecting 2 completely equal parts of a sentence. It's like a perfectly balanced scale. You can link 2 words, 2 phrases, or 2 independent clauses. For example, the word but shows a clear contrast. She is rich, but she is humble. Or take the word so, which gives us a result. It was late, so we left. They just provide this perfect equal balance between your thoughts. Moving into Section 2, Advanced Architecture. Now that our foundation is set, it's time to build an extension using subordinating and correlative conjunctions to really add some depth. Now, what's really fascinating here is how subordinating conjunctions allow us to attach a dependent, secondary thought right onto our main independent structure. We aren't just linking equal thoughts anymore. We're establishing highly specific, targeted relationships based on function. You can dictate time with words like when or until, as in call me when you arrive. You can establish cause with because or since. You can even build complex conditions with if or unless. This gives your sentences multiple variables, allowing you to construct nuanced, multi-layered ideas that reflect truly complex thought. And please, don't forget correlative conjunctions. These are incredibly powerful. Think of them like twin pillars that absolutely must be used as a pair to bear the weight of the sentence. If you use both, you have to use and, like both Tom and Anna came. If you want to show a really stunning addition, use not only paired with, but also, like she is not only intelligent, but also hardworking. You simply cannot build with just one of these pillars. The roof will literally cave in. You always have to use both. Section 3, Leveling Up to B2 Application. It is officially time to upgrade our building materials to a much higher standard. If you want to hit that coveted B2 level, basic mortar just isn't going to cut it anymore. At a B2 level, which is where you really start sounding fluent, authoritative, and professional, we have to stop memorizing random lists of words. Instead, we need to start categorizing our vocabulary strictly by structural function. When we want to show addition, we step up to furthermore or moreover. To show a result, instead of just defaulting to so, we elevate our language to therefore, consequently, or thus. Understanding the exact function of these linking words gives you absolute, precise control over the direction of your arguments. Simply swapping out an informal word for its formal B2 equivalent instantly elevates the sophistication of your entire structure. Think about it. Trading a word like but for however, or also for furthermore, is literally like swapping a pair of sweatpants for a tailored suit. It's the exact same underlying logic, just built with much higher quality formal materials. It completely transforms your tone from casual to commanding. Section 4, Inspection. Every good architect performs a rigorous building inspection before unveiling their work, right? So, let's walk through the site and fix some of the most common structural failures. Take what I like to call the double joint mistake. You absolutely do not need because and so in the same sentence. Saying, because it was raining, so we stayed home is completely redundant. It's like trying to use 2 joints to connect 2 pipes. It just doesn't work. The exact same rule applies to although and but. One single connection point is plenty to hold the clauses together. The correct approach is smooth and singular. Although she was tired, she continued. Which leads us to another common collapse: incorrectly applying specific rules. Despite is a fantastic contrast word, but it cannot be followed directly by a full subject-verb clause. Using despite it was raining will cause your sentence to instantly collapse. It has to be a noun phrase, like despite the rain. Also, the word unless already carries a negative meaning built right into it. So never ever pair it with another negative, like don't, or you create a really confusing double negative. Unless you study, you will fail is a perfectly sturdy structure. Section 5. Finishing touches. Our building is standing tall. The beams are in place, the walls are solid, but now we need to add the aesthetic polish. We need to talk about punctuation. Punctuation acts as the visual guide for the reader. It tells them exactly where the structural joints in your sentences are located. When you join two independent clauses with one of our fanboys, place a nice, clear comma right before it. Something like, I wanted to go, but I was busy. But if you're just joining simple words like apples and bananas, leave the comma out. And here's the golden rule for subordinating conjunctions. If your dependent clause comes first, use a comma. Although it was late, we continued working. But if the independent clause leads the sentence, drop the comma entirely. We continued working although it was late. Easy, right? Let's step back and admire a completed architectural masterpiece. Notice how the varied, correctly punctuated conjunctions in a well-written paragraph create an incredibly smooth logical flow. We can start with a contrast using although, give a reason with because, pivot with the formal however, provide a result with therefore, and then add one final thought with in addition. When you do this right, there's no repetition, there's no choppiness. It's just beautifully constructed logic from start to finish. So how do you actually achieve this? Well, here are your exact steps for taking this blueprint home. Stop memorizing alphabetical lists and start learning words by their function. Challenge yourself to combine short, simple sentences into complex ones. Actively force yourself to vary your language so you aren't just relying on and or because all the time. Watch your commas carefully. And finally, read academic texts, not just for the content, but to actively study the connections the author is making. You now have all the tools, the mortar, and the blueprints required to completely elevate your language. You understand the foundational fanboys, the advanced subordinating links, that precise B2 terminology, and exactly how to inspect your work for those pesky double joints. So the only thing left to ask is, what structural masterpiece are you going to build with your sentences today? Go out there, grab your materials, and start building.